Hello guys, LEGO here, and in today's video I'm just going to do a sort of top 10 list of my most favourite Ninjago minifigures. Now, just before I go over this, I have grouped some of the minifigures together that I believe are somewhat similar enough to not rank them higher or lower than each other, or I just can't really make that decision for myself. So I'm just going to show you some of my most favourite Ninjago minifigures, and I'm going to explain a little bit about why I like them, and then obviously just show you the rankings. So without further ado, let's get on to the first minifigure. So first, just to begin with, I want to go over one honourable mention that only just didn't make my sort of top 10, and that is this Dragons Rising Season 2 Lord Ras. So I just find that this minifigure is extremely stunning, and especially the colour scheme. I really enjoy the colour scheme about it, and that's just sort of what edged it over the original version for me, even though the other one is really detailed and an amazing figure. I just much prefer this colour scheme, and I love the design a lot more. Especially with like the wolf robe detailing, the purple sort of robes coming down here and the shoulder pads as well. Obviously, great minifigure, but just didn't quite make the top 10. So now let's move on to the 10th minifigure. So here we have my 10th most favourite is my first ever LEGO Ninjago minifigure from 2011, which is the pilot suit of Cole. So I felt like it wouldn't be a top minifigure list for me if I didn't include whatever the hell my first minifigure was. And in this instance, it was the original Cole minifigure. So I'm just extremely nostalgic about this minifigure, and I feel like the pilot suits even hold up to today, even though the quality of like the print and detail is obviously not the same. But I feel like it gets the job across of what it's supposed to be. It's just an elemental ninja. But I just love the simplicity of it, and I feel like they've aged really well over the past few. The last decade rather. So I love the OG head mask where you could attach a weapon here. I've got a custom scythe I've put on him here, and it's just something about this. It's so charming yet so like effective. It's probably one of the best sort of lines of suits they've ever done because it's what started it all. So now let's move on to the next. After Cole, we have a much more recent minifigure, and this is the only version of Garmadon, which came out in the crystallized wave of sets. And this was a figure, when I saw it revealed, I was super hyped for it, especially just for this face print mask. I loved the Sons of Garmadon season, but wasn't able to get many of the sets. So it's nice to be able to get one here for Garmadon, and I feel like it's a really cool representation of the character from the show. Obviously, it's not entirely accurate, but probably one of my most favourite minifigures. Just because I love the design of the sort of kendo armour underneath the robes here with the purple belt, and it's sort of like a really good callback to his OG design to me, where his OG design was really simple, but here it's just a bit more elegant, and it's sort of like he's the mirror opposite of what Wu is supposed to be, and he's like the evil sensei, I guess you could say. Turning him around just so you can get a look at the back detailing, we have just a little insignia there on the back, but yeah, what put this minifigure over the edge for me when it was revealed was definitely the mask piece. I just love how this looks, and I have quite a big interest in Japanese sort of folklore and yokai, so I was really happy to get this when I got the Samurai X mech. So without further ado, let's move on to the 8th minifigure. So another pilot season character, and definitely a desirable one because he's only been created in one wave of sets, and that was obviously the original 2011, and that is Samukai. So he was sort of the first of his kind in the Ninjago theme and pioneered the four-armed characters. Obviously, we'd seen four-armed characters before in LEGO, but this was the first instance for the Ninjago theme. And I feel like this minifigure is so unique, and obviously... Oh, sorry about that. So unique in the fact he's so uncommon, it just makes me love him even more. And obviously, when I got him when I was like about 7 years old, I was super excited because it's a minifigure that... It's so unique, you can get nothing like this. Especially with the custom head mold, how you can open and close his mouth is so cool. And I love the face print, it's really expressive, and it also is a good representation from the show. So the forearms is really cool, so you can obviously wield the 4 golden weapons. Obviously he dies in the show when he tries to do that, but you had that option when you was playing with him. But I feel like this is another minifigure that stood the test of time and is one of a kind, and they can't really ever top it. So that's one of my most favourite minifigures, just because of the originality of the character and the overall design. So let's move on to the next grouping. So this next one is the first of 2 sort of groupings I've made because I couldn't really decide between individual minifigures, because I feel like these are all similar enough to where you can put them in one bracket. But these are the dragon forms of the original 4 ninja from Crystallized. So, sorry about that. Obviously, first things first is the fact that a lot of them use, or all of them use, translucent body parts. And that's one of my most favourite things that they do with LEGO minifigures sometimes, is when they use the translucent parts, especially for characters like Kai and Zane. I feel like these two are really striking, especially Zane with the bright blue. But I just love how these minifigures were achieved, and they're a good representation of what they are from the show. But also the unique mouldings of the helmets, as well as the dragon wings, which are now more commonly used in the theme, but they was really cool to be able to be applied to the minifigures, and obviously makes them really striking and stand out within my collection. I like to have them on display. I never like to put them away, so I like to have them all together. That's why I've grouped them together. But I feel like they're really cool at representing their obviously core elements, but are also really unique versions of the characters, because we've never had anything really like this other than the other previous NRG forms, which were from 2012. So it's good to get some sort of representation of their like energy or dragon forms in a more modern take. So that's the next lot, and now let's move on to the next minifigure. So my next minifigure I've chosen is another one of the original villains, and that is Master Chen from Season 4. So this is one of the minifigures that sort of got me back into the theme back in 2015 after rebooted, because I didn't get many of those sets, so it's really cool to obviously be introduced back into the theme with Tournament of Elements, probably one of the best seasons, I feel like, with some of the best sets and minifigures. And that's definitely shown here with Master Chen. So first he has his really cool elemental staff, which is his main accessory, which has the Anaconda helmet on top and like the elemental power in it. So that was really cool to get, and obviously that's a stickered piece, but that goes really well with the character, and obviously it's from the show. But I just love the detailings on the torso, as well as the really exclusive head mould. I love the mask, or the helmet rather, that's actually dual molded. That's like a snake's head and rib cage that has an actual live snake wrapping around it, which is purple obviously to represent the Anaconda. So I feel like it's such an awesome representation from the show, and it translates extremely well to an actual toy. So this is another one I'm really happy to have in my collection, and I'll never get rid of, and I love to leave it on display. So this is another really cool villain, especially as well just because of the uniqueness of him. Especially in the show, he's such a character, and I just love the design. There's not really any other minifigures like him. So without further ado, let's move on to the next minifigure. So here we have another villain, and then definitely another unique one. I'm going to sound like a broken record after this video, but I just love the unique. That's one thing I love about the Ninjago film, is the uniqueness of the characters and the minifigures. But this is Khan from Season 11, the Sky Pirates wave. And he only came in a handful of sets, so it's really awesome to be able to have him in my collection. But he's sort of another one of the characters that uses the double torso and the 4 arms. But I love the way he looks, especially the orange colour mixed with the dark green as well. I feel like it fits the aesthetic of what he's going for, sort of a pirate genie. But I just love the tail piece that they introduced with Possession. That's always been one of my most favourite pieces here. Obviously in that red and orange colour rather than purple and green. But as well, I just love the character from the show, which makes me like the minifigure even more. I love the fact that one of his hands also has a hook as a hand, obviously to play into the part that he's a pirate. But I feel like this is another extremely unique minifigure, and obviously it's a one-of-a-kind character that we haven't seen since 2016. So it's really nice to have this one in my collection also. But I feel like he doesn't quite beat the next minifigure, but I feel like he's definitely one of my top 5 of all time. So just beating out Chen and Khan closely, but because he's probably more of a interesting character to me, and the minifigure is just something I'm really nostalgic about, that is the regular version of Moro. Unfortunately, I do not own the Possessed Lloyd minifigure, but I feel like this is just as good, to be honest, because it was obviously one of the first instances of Ninjago minifigures using the translucent parts. In this case, in this translucent green colour, because he's obviously a ghost. But I just love the minifigure so much and the character from the show. I have given him a cape, but he did come with a cape in the Destiny's Bounty set, but I got it from the Air Jitsu Flyer. So I just love the expression that he has here on his face, with him just sort of cackling, and obviously he's just an evil guy. And he's got the sort of Lloyd dragon insignia on his robes here, and his robes are all tattered and torn because he's obviously not alive anymore. And I feel like they've accomplished that really well with the minifigure design. Then we have his sort of insignia on the back there. But this is another villain where I feel like they just sort of hit it on the nail with the sort of main antagonist of the show, and it was a really cool and really well portrayed character. But I feel like he is also a really cool toy to have, just because of the fact of the translucent pieces, and obviously he's supposed to be the evil green ninja, so he's a really cool parallel to the ninja in the show. So that is probably my favourite villain minifigure I own in my collection, and now let's move on to the final 3. So again, for me, it wouldn't be a top 10 minifigure listing if I didn't have the original Golden Lloyd in here somewhere. So I had him at my 3rd spot, and that's just because he's extremely nostalgic to me. So I remember getting this set for Christmas, the Temple of Light and the Golden Dragon from my nan, in 2013, sorry. Or 2012, I can't quite remember. But I feel like it was obviously, of its time, the first minifigure to do completely gold, and obviously, as a kid, that's probably one of the most crazy things that LEGO could have done at the time. And I feel like it still holds up to this day, especially the kimono robes from season 2. I feel like it's probably one of the best robe designs in the entire show, because it's so simplistic, but it gets the point across. It's just simple ninja robes. They don't do anything too extravagant, and I feel like it's almost like the perfect ninja design. But here, yeah, the all gold design is just, there's nothing quite like it. Even the golden ninja that they've done in recent memory, they're nothing, as they don't relate to the memory of just getting this in the set. And the exclusivity of this minifigure made it feel even more special. Even though it became more common because of LEGO Dimensions, and obviously that would have lessened the value of the minifigure. But for me, it hasn't really affected that, because it still feels such a special minifigure to me. And the only thing you have to be careful of is obviously it's in the old sort of pearl gold colour, so it is quite delicate. As you can see, the left arm here is quite loose, but the right arm is a little bit stiffer. So this is one I always try and be careful with and not move around too much, just because of the nature of the gold pieces back in the early 2010s. But yeah, this was a super exciting minifigure to get back in 2012/13. And one, if you could ever go back and get one minifigure, this is the one I would pick to get, because obviously it was a pivotal moment in the show, and it's a one-of-a-kind minifigure. Even though they've done golden minifigures again since then, nothing has really topped this for me. So the second lot of minifigures and the final grouping that I've made is the Day of the Departed suits for the original 5 Ninja. Unfortunately, I do not have Neo, because I didn't actually get these from any of the sets. I was able to get all of them from the Ninjago magazines that they do here in the UK and Europe. So it was a really good opportunity to get a lot of these minifigures for really cheap. So yeah, unfortunately I don't have the Nia, but I feel like these are like the first instances of like legacy minifigures, if that makes sense, because obviously it's supposed to be like mashups of their original 2011 pilot suits, and as well as their 2012 ZX suits. And I feel like they've done that really well here, just combining the two suits yet making them look unique, especially with the new mask pieces where they use the possession masks rather than obviously the ZX hood pieces, and it just gives them that extra pop of colour as well. But again, this is one I couldn't really decide on who's my favourite out of the lot of them, because I love all of them, especially Jay here and Cole. I feel like these are probably my 2 favourites, but again, I couldn't separate them all individually and say I like them one better than the other. But I also really loved Lloyd at the time when I got him, because it's basically like they gave him a pilot suit even though he never had one. So he takes less elements from his ZX suit than the others do, so he is just basically what pilot suit Lloyd would have looked like, obviously minus the hood and the armor pads. But I felt like it was a really cool, unique minifigure at the time, and obviously it sort of filled that spot in for creating a pilot suit for one that never existed. But yeah, I love these minifigures for the fact that they're throwbacks to the original 2012 and 2011 minifigures back in 2017, and I feel like they've definitely done it a lot better than most of the legacy suits, to be honest. But without further ado, let's move on to my top minifigure of all time. So the big reveal for my favourite minifigure of all time in the Ninjago theme is Kimono Lloyd from 2013, the second season of Ninjago. So this is my favourite minifigure, just because of the nostalgia I have for it, and especially the design as well. So obviously at the time this wasn't a widely released minifigure because it came in an encyclopedia, and later in another book I think I have the other version of him, but I kept him sealed. But yeah, he wasn't conventionally released in any of the mainline sets, so he was a little bit hard to come by. And I feel like when I got this as a present for Christmas, it was extremely special for me. just because of seeing it from the show and then getting it as a physical product and having that feeling of, oh, this is the exclusive minifigure to that book. It made it sort of, it remained my favourite minifigure from that point on, from around 2012 and 2013. And I just love the design of it. As I said earlier with the Golden Lloyd, I feel like they really nailed it on the head with the kimono suits in this season. And I just love the simplistic design, but it gets the point across of the ninja gis. And obviously at the time it was super unique as well, because it was one of the first suits where it didn't use their main colour as the primary colour for the suit. So here you can see the base colour of the suit is actually black, and the green is just accents where you can see it on the robe, the arms and the hood. Which just made it stand out completely from all previous minifigures released within the theme. And that goes for all the kimono versions of the ninja, apart from Cole, because obviously he's the black ninja, so he used some grey in there, I think, from off the top of my head. But I have given him a little accessory. This didn't come with him, it's just the dragon hilt with the green blade as one of the energy swords. But yeah, I feel like that fits with his character really well. And just take a look at the back, just so you can see the little gold serpent in there. That's a throwback to his original ZX suit. But yeah, another thing I love about this is that he uses the OG Lloyd face print from when he was actually a kid. And obviously this was before they was doing double face prints for all the ninja, but he was the only one to come with two faces. So you can see he's got a scared face there and then just a regular face. But yeah, that is probably the definitive minifigure that I can say is my all-time favourite of the theme. The other ones were just more to create a bit of a ranking so the video can progress, but if I had to leave my collection today and I could only have one minifigure out of all the ones I own, it would definitely be this one. But yeah, if you have any minifigure stories or any favourite minifigures you want to tell me about, feel free to drop those in the comments below and what it is about those you like. But if you want to check out some more LEGO videos on my channel, I will leave some on the pinned screen now. And without further ado, I'm going to sign out and goodbye.